Welcome to this Flipdish podcast. Today we're doing a staff spotlight and I'm joined by Ryan Shirley. Ryan, thank you so much for coming in because I know you're very busy. I appreciate that. I'd love to just get a little bit of background on you. What do you do at Flipdish and how did you end up here?
Yeah, so my role is senior software engineer for the ecosystem and payments team at the moment. So yeah, that's my kind of role at the moment. But yeah, how I got here was an interesting journey. So I kind of bring it back to COVID times. So finishing college up during COVID, meant to do exams, in person, but they end up being remote. College kind of closed down, and then kind of became summertime after that, and you're kind of thinking, okay, I can't go traveling or anything like that. And then, as you do on a Sunday, ordering takeaway, and you see the careers page at the bottom of, who's building these things. And it's just something I thought I'd take a look at. And I see Flipdish and I see that they had a role for a web project coordinator. So back in the day, that was the client operations team. And I thought, may as well just give it a go. I'm kind of sitting around, can't really do much, and use it as a bit of a, stepping tool to go to where I wanted to go. And applied on the Sunday, got a call on the Monday, and I think within a week accepted the role.
Wow. And what year was this?
That was 2020.
2020. So right in the height of the worst. Yeah. I imagine you weren't probably thinking, well, this is going to turn into a 5-year gig or a 4-year gig, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also the role itself wasn't exactly what I wanted to do long term as well. Mm-hmm. So I worked for a previous company, Carzone, before I even went to college, and it was kind of similar to that kind of web developer, setting up domains, emails, and things like that. So I kind of knew that I'd be comfortable enough in the position, but it wasn't really where I wanted to go. I wanted to do the kind of software side of things.
Yeah.
But I thought, move it or use it as experience and kind of take it as a stepping stone. And yeah, within 9 months, I made the move to the engineering side.
Wow. So not even 9 months in the role and you'd kind of jump ship from client ops.
Yeah.
And then what was your first kind of major project then within engineering, and what did you start working on then straight away?
Yeah, the first big thing was what we call the integration hub. So our team was just formed. There was 3 of us that were brand new to, 2 that were brand new to the company, and then there was me kind of making that shift across. And what we started off with was integrations, and we wanted to create something that we called the integration hub, which was taking kind of these integrations out of the core of our system and building them in a brand new kind of greenfield project. So that was really the big first thing that we built. So the likes of our Glovo integration for the Spanish market is in there. And I think that was really interesting because then you got the stories of this client is saved because we now have this integration, and that was,
So a bit of a rewarding work where you could see the direct impact of that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that was really the nice move from going from the website side of things, where I always thought about it as a way of people just visiting the website. They're not really, they're interacting with it, but there's not that kind of software side to it. And then kind of making that shift to software and seeing, you've saved a client, they're now making money from it. And I remember pressing the refresh button to see the logs every day, trying to see orders come in. It was a really exciting time.
Yeah, that's great when you're that passionate about something, right? Where you're looking at it all the time, you're keeping track, and you're feeling that little every time the order goes through, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Really nice. And what would have been your first thought or your first kind of I don't know, the way Flipdish appealed to you? Was there something about it, or was it just a case that they just happened to be there? When you came in, did it live up to your aspirations? What was kind of that initial feeling?
Yeah, I think it was just a right moment, right time. I was looking for something. It kind of, I think the role and the work kind of suited me in a way that kind of I knew that I could kind of be comfortable in this position. So that was kind of the main thing there. But then
the team, from a team point of view, how was that? How were they, how was the kind of the culture in the team when you got in?
Yeah, no, that was really interesting. The team was young enough. They were kind of exciting calls. I joined virtually, so I hadn't met people in person, but people were having laughs and jokes at the start of the call before we kind of got into things. So that was just really nice that, people are getting on with each other and everything like that. And then everyone was just happy to help each other, help you learn and things like that. So it was, very welcoming and very enjoyable kind of start.
And have you seen much of a change between Flipdish like then and Flipdish now? Like, have you seen a cultural shift or anything in particular in how we work?
Yeah, I think there's lots of different things that have changed. I think it's also different coming from like an operations role into more of a software engineering role. But yeah, like I used to always think of things as like Flipdish years when I was in client operations of like, when will this feature be released? But now that I'm in that side of the business, I can really appreciate all the kind of things that go on to make those features. So yeah, I think it's just appreciating kind of as I've moved different sides of the business, kind of seeing what exactly goes on, I think has been the biggest kind of insight.
I think all of us in the customer facing side need to spend like a week with you guys, because I'm sure you're fed up of us being like, hey, any chance you could build, you know, could you make that button pink or something, you know, like, and I'm sure you guys are all like, oh, here they come again with another harebrained suggestion, like, and then we're like, can you make that like yesterday? Is that like a struggle to manage our expectations?
I think there's definitely a bit of that there. I think there are certain things that like it's a great idea and we might actually have that same kind of thinking, but technically speaking, it might be just we're not at a place where that might be feasible, or to get there just might take like a little bit of time. So, you know, you just need to get the team in place to get there, to be aligned and make that kind of reality. But then at the same time, there can be certain things that are really quick to do. So even this morning I was talking to Kalash, and I had a new restaurant search tool that I released recently. And he was like, oh, it'd be wonderful if we could just click on this restaurant ID and it opens up in the portal. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Just give me 10 minutes and I'll have it done. So like before, you know, we really got into the meat of the work, I already had a feature released for him. So there really is kind of both sides of certain things can be really quick and pretty fast feedback loop, but then there's other things that need like a little bit more planning. And when you start interacting with like a database and different things like that, it just takes a bit more time.
I think that's the problem for us outside of the tech space, is that we don't know which one is which, right? We're not sure if this is going to be like an entire rebuild of the software to get this one button put in, or is it like it's 10 minutes on my computer over there. And unfortunately, when sometimes you do a 10-minute one, then we're like, oh, they're all 10 minutes, right? Like that.
Exactly.
And you've got to manage our expectations then. I don't know if that's going to be better or worse for you now that we're back in the office. Obviously today you've seen somebody just walk over to you and be like, hey, can you make something? Is that something you're excited about, or did you like the safety of being able to ignore those kind of mad requests?
I think it's been nice to ignore them, but I think at the same time it's nice to have those interactions as well. I think there's definitely a balance of it, but it also really helps like take out the middleman of getting the information to me as well. So a lot of times they can report things, but it goes through to someone else and they can kind of plan things. But it's also good for the engineers and myself to kind of talk to those people who are having the problems and actually get the feedback directly from them.
Yeah.
But in person as well, that, you know, you're not having to write messages, you know, you can just have that casual chat and really get that kind of, okay, well, what actually is the problem?
Yeah.
Like if they're trying to articulate something, you're like, okay, well, how about I do it this way? Will that still solve it? So it's nice to still have that kind of element in person. And
yeah, and I think you guys just being in the room with people who are on like customer facing calls and things, you hear those problems or the things they're trying to solve for those customers. So I think any exposure to that is going to be net benefit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, hopefully that. So anything that you've worked on so far in Flipdish, obviously, other than your, you know, the first thing you were saying there, that your first kind of project was a great stepping stone. You're really proud of it. Any other kind of big call out moments for you of stuff that you've delivered and you were like, yes, that was me?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one thing, if I go back to like the earlier days when I was in client operations, was we obviously have our websites that clients use and they can sign up and use them. But previously they were quite rigid. There wasn't a lot we could really change like visually, and content was pretty locked down, but visually we could change quite a lot of things from our team. And we had lots of requests going back and forth to the tech team, as we called it. You know, can you make this change? You know, clients are asking for this. And basically nothing was really happening. So what I ended up doing was taking our knowledge from the client operations team of how we can kind of style things and building a tool that would allow you to visualize all those changes and kind of create this template that it would output that we could then add onto different websites. So we had essentially multiple themes that all it would be is CSS, which is a way of styling the websites. And then there'd be variables in there of like main color green, secondary color blue, or whatever it might be. So that was a really interesting project that you could just share with the kind of the onboarding team and the salespeople. And all they would do is go onto this website, choose all the colors, choose the fonts that they want, and that would save a file that they would send to us that we could then put on the website, make sure things looked great. So that was like a really nice project to work on. And I think really the highlight of it was I created a template called Café Shirley, which was one of the more popular ones, but also got onto the main Flipdish website as well, of kind of being advertised. So
wow,
that was really nice. Of like, I'm only just out of college, working on something like this, and then seeing this kind of like nearly front and center on the main Flipdish website. That was really, really rewarding.
Is that something you would have told your friends or family about, being like, hey, look what I did?
Yeah, I definitely would have shown them.
Bit of bragging.
A little bit of bragging, but then also when it comes to them ordering takeaway and they're saying, no, this isn't working right, then I kind of have to take it back a little bit at that point.
Yeah. Why does this button change to the wrong color? Or that's fair. I definitely get messages from people sometimes who's like, or if they've just ordered with Flipdish, I just get a screenshot of the bottom of the receipt. I'm like, yeah, that's what we do. We do the food ordering. I love that people just associate me or with that kind of stuff, where you get the odd if they like, my mate sent me a video recently of him on a marketplace and then closing the marketplace, and the screen behind that was one of our customers like direct orderings, and he's like, I'm learning. I'm like, good man. Nice. all this kind of like, after a few beers, this kind of rhetoric that I get into is actually starting like, you got to help the little guy, like just buy local, shop direct. And so for you guys, obviously within like the function that you're in, do you find that there's much of a kind of a social element? Do you get together as a team much? Like, how does that work for your team? And are they all over the world, or where's your team mostly?
Yeah, so my team is definitely spread out. We're not quite the whole typical engineer who sits in the dark and doesn't talk to anyone. We're not kind of stereotypical like that, but a few of us do wear glasses and do have that kind of look of your typical nerdy software engineer.
Yeah.
But my team is very spread out. So I'm the only one in Ireland at the moment. So it makes things a little bit difficult, but we kind of adjusted to working remotely. So it hasn't been too bad. So there's 2 other software engineers in the UK at the moment. And then we have a product manager in the UK. So that's kind of how our team is structured at the moment. Then we got an engineering manager, which we used to have down in Waterford, which was great to have someone in Ireland. But then obviously with them being remote, we do get to have quarterly team meetups where we try fly them over here, meet up in the office, have a bit of fun, do some serious work, but still have a bit of fun at the end of the day.
I think the fun bit is like really important about those meetups, right? Because you're kind of doing that serious work all the time. You're on Google Meets to each other. You're kind of working collaboratively. But then when you get to actually meet up and go for a couple of drinks or whatever it happens to be, just to get out of the office space, like that's so important. Any kind of, in the last couple of years, any kind of call out team meetups that you think were really fun, or some sort of activity you did that you really loved?
Yeah, I think a big thing that I really loved was go-karting. Is something we've done a few times, which has been really interesting. Gets a little bit competitive as well. A little
bit, since from the guy who has a GoPro strapped to his head.
May have turned up with my I think it was Red Bull top on with a GoPro strapped to my head, but
we all expected big things the minute that happened, like your own helmet, your own GoPro, and the Red Bull racing gear on. I was like, this is not gonna go well for me. Always an enjoyable one to do stuff like that, and I think it's a great way to kind of the shackles kind of come off people. Then Connor's trying to ram you off the track and stuff like that, and you're thinking, okay, so now people are, you find out what kind of person you're really dealing with. Like these are competitive. And I love that. I love being around people who like want to win all the time, right? It's like a bit of fun. So that's a big thing. So if you were going to talk to like a friend of yours who's maybe a developer or maybe just in any other role, and they were looking for a job, how would you pitch Flipdish to them?
So I actually pitched someone, my old job, in client operations, who actually was in my college. So he ended up actually taking the role, which was great for me. So I kind of think about it in that way, that I suppose in that way I knew the person very well, went to college with him, kind of knew his background, his skills, was able to see him in the role thriving and things like that. But I was also able to be very transparent of, like, if you're trying to do something called like React, which is a technology that we use, that wasn't something that was in that role, but I was able to kind of portray things of like, look, I was able to use this as a stepping stone to move into the engineering side. So yeah, I think just being transparent with what to expect in the role, what the team is like, and the culture inside the business.
And from a cultural point of view, you obviously mentioned it there. What is it about the culture that you like? Is there anything that kind of sticks out particularly about how we are?
I think the big thing for me is like transparency, and also really just seeing like the co-founders and the C-suite around. And because I didn't have a huge amount of experience beforehand coming to Flipdish, and there would have been, the higher up managers, they wouldn't really talk to you. Where here, that all kind of goes away. You get to talk to them, you get to have, casual conversations. I was talking to Connor today, where he just comes up to me and has a casual chat. We had a chat over lunch. We've been playing a lot of table tennis against each other. So I was just standing outside before this, and he just walks over asking for a game. And it's just things like that that make it really nice, that there just doesn't feel like there's a tiered kind of hierarchy or anything like that. It's just everyone's just another human being.
Yeah, and I think particularly for someone in your role, having access to someone like Connor is like really important, right? He's obviously very good at what he does, and like in that space of creating, and that, like, I would, if I was in your shoes, that would be the person that I would love to be able to sit down with, like someone who's created a tech company from scratch. It's like, well, you don't get to speak to people like that too often.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was definitely a bit terrifying at the start when it's like a 9 o'clock meeting and you have to start presenting things, and he's there on the call and he's going to ask questions. But I think that's also really rewarding as well, when he starts kind of not quite nitpicking what you're working on, but asking these really great questions of like, why did you do it this way? And why didn't you do it this way? And it really just helps make you think. And I think ultimately just makes you a better engineer as well, and kind of take some of his thinking into your own day to day.
Yeah, challenges the way you're working on things and the way you might look at something as well. Yeah, I do love that. And I think that kind of open and honest culture again that we have here, where people will say what they mean, and it's always for the improvement of whatever we're working on. It's never to like personally attack or anything like that. It's like, how do we get the best result here? And like a lot of the times I've had similar conversations with Connor and with James, and once you explain your reasoning for doing something a certain way, a lot of the time the answer is like, okay, cool, that's great. It's not like, no, you have to do it my way. It's just, I wanted to understand why you did it that way. And I love that, because one, it makes you think about, well, why did I do it that way? And then the reasoning can sometimes be, absolutely reasonable. So I think that's a really nice way of kind of working and being in the company. Yeah. So what are you most looking forward to in the next 6 months? Is there anything that you're working on that you're like, this is going to be cool?
Yeah, I suppose there's lots of stuff that we're working on. I kind of hope each one of them will be just as big as the other. But I think Google Business Profiles is probably one of the bigger ones at the moment that I'm hoping goes really well. You hear a lot of struggles of different teams in terms of trying to get access, setting up things, and then making sure that, the phone number is the same as the website and the website URL is the same. And I think just being able to help in that space. I think I've just heard so many different problems from loads of different people on different sides of the company that I think, we can really make a difference there. And not only just for Flipdish staff, but also helping the restaurants themselves. So at the moment, it will just be we're hoping to sync a lot of the Flipdish information onto your Google profile. But I think what's really exciting about it and the way we kind of built it is that we can take it to another level again and say, okay, we're syncing all your information to Google, but let's think about Facebook next, or whatever the next platform is that, you know, restaurants are on. So if it's TripAdvisor or something like that, and just making sure that, you know, the restaurant's opening hours are correct across the board, because it's, you know, you never like going on to TripAdvisor or Google to see if a restaurant's open, then walk up to them and they're closed. So I think that will be really, really nice to solve.
Amazing. Okay, yeah, Google Business obviously top of mind for a lot of us at the moment. Anything then in the next, if we moved on 6 months, do you see AI being a kind of a feature of what you guys do, or do you see that integrating with our product in any way? Is there anything that you've kind of heard in the last while that you feel like, you know, it might not be in the immediate, like now, but in the next couple of months or years, where you think that's really going to be a game changer for the industry that we're in?
Yeah, I think there's lots of different places where it can be used. I think some places they try to put AI in there just for the sake of it.
To say AI.
Yeah. So I think there'll be trying to find a balance of that. But I think one place that's quite interesting that I've worked on recently with a hackathon before Christmas was AI phone ordering. So instead of the restaurant answering the phone and taking an order over the phone, that it will be this kind of AI bot, kind of human that was fun to interact with. So yeah, trying to take that to the next level, I think, will be really interesting. We did some great work in just 2 days trying to get a flow working. So I think that will be really interesting to see where we can take that. I know some companies, I think in the US, have started using it for drive-thrus and taking orders there. So I think it'll be really interesting to take what some of the bigger players have done. I think it's some of the big chains in the US have done that. So it'll be really interesting to see, you know, can we replicate something like that fits the kind of the Flipdish ecosystem and the kind of restaurants that you work with, and then ultimately bringing that kind of tech that's only available to the giants down to the mom and pop shops.
Which is what we're all about, right? And I think just phone ordering obviously is still one of the most inefficient ways for a restaurant to like take orders in, right? Because they're dealing with people in their restaurant, there's somebody on the phone, they're trying to multitask, that whole thing. To be able to just move all of that to a bot who can take unlimited amount of calls in an unlimited amount of time, you never miss a phone call, I think that would be an absolute game changer for restaurants. But let's hope that is a feasible thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think the technology is getting better and better every day, and new tools are popping up. So definitely we'll need lots of testing and trying to put it off. But I think with a little bit of time, we could get it done right.
Brilliant. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Really appreciate it. Appreciate that you're very busy. It's great to have you back in the office as well. So I'm looking forward to 2 days a week of having the crack. And yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.